Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 known and unknown areas in public speaking for myself. As someone who stood up in front of an audience and felt like a deer in front of headlights, I have learned quite amount of knowledge in public speaking and communications over the last 4 weeks. Starting with prepping. What I do know is that I am naturally lazy. So having a topic that I am confident in and already have passion around, I definitely did know that it makes the research process a lot easier because it's something that I find interesting. What I didn't know was just the amount of sources. So a primary source is someone you can speak to directly. Secondary source, someone who's done their own research and kind of had their own critical thinking to pieces. The amount of sources that I could use as someone who relied heavily on websites, not always the most scholarly, I thought that was very interesting. The second thing was research. My mother was in research for many years, and in the words of her, she always would say, make sure you cite me. So I understand in the research part that having credible citations in where you're getting your reference for is very important. On the other hand, doing the research and considering what my audience needs was something that I didn't know. Like when I'm doing research, I look for things that make sense for myself, but I never stood back to think about how can I use the information that I'm researching to best serve my audience. So I thought that was pretty neat. The third thing is outlining. I've learned to start with the body of the speech, or even in writing. It is just a lot easier for my mind, and apparently everyone else's. That's a known topic to me, is to make sure you're starting with the body of your speech. Where they lost me was the organizing patterns. So whether it's topical, chronological, that pattern helps to build a great foundation, and also making sure that your speech is clear and has clarity to it. Number 4, when it comes to delivery, as a mindfulness coach, I have used this myself. It's visualization, positive visualization of actually seeing yourself in front of your audience, how you feel, how you want them to feel. I have had firsthand experience with that working. So I was glad to see that as one of the exercises to do for delivery. Now, where I never heard for delivery is signposts, where the audience kind of knows the flow of where you're going in your speech. I loved their example of it being like a road trip and seeing the signs and knowing which exit that makes sense. So I loved seeing that in delivery. I'll definitely incorporate that. And then 5, rolled into one, just types of speeches. So we have a persuasive speech, which I know to avoid inflammatory topics. I kind of think of that like rage bait, where people are doing things that are provocative just to get a rise out of people. I can't stand that, and I wouldn't want to be someone who would have a speech like that. What I didn't know is, though, on the contrary, that you should be picking something that is controversial, something that is critical thought and is moving the needle for not only myself, but for peers in society, so that we are impacting each other for the better. And then we have informative speeches. I live my life this way. Less is more. So there can be so much information that you want to add, but really making sure that you don't overwhelm your audience is critical when it comes to informative speech. What I didn't know is that being a skillful researcher and knowing what to add in there. And I think that circles back around to knowing what your audience needs and having them in mind, but being that researcher and picking certain things and being able to translate that through your words and not overwhelming your audience was something I didn't actually know correlated with don't overwhelm them. Less is more. In conclusion, I have explored several parts of public speaking, each stage contributing to being a more effective speaker and having an effective speech. Mastering public speaking comes with continuous learning and practice. However, it is a wonderful opportunity for us to engage, inform, and influence those around us.